but I'm going to tell you what I think so far. So, there are two textures, I guess they call them, formulas, in this palette. There's the two, I don't want to drop this, these two here and these two here are both texture number 8, if you have other ones and you'd like to know reference. And then the one in the middle is texture number 2. Yeah. Going down from here to here, it's rosewood, lavender gray, shell, light coral, and macaroon. So rosewood, lavender gray, it's on the back, I don't know why I had to read the box. Light coral and macaroon are all the same formula. And then this one, it's a matte, but you know how Anastasia has their ultra mattes and then they have their velvets? In the velvet, the reason they make a distinction is because you might be able to pick up slightly more light reflecting properties. This one, if you look at it, it almost has a sheen, yet it doesn't. I really like this in the crease. What I like is it's one of those things where sometimes when I'm using very ultra matte shadows, my crease will look very dry because every little crack, like if you look at my hands are dry right now, but I don't know if you'll be able to see, but you can see all these lines in my skin. That's just how skin is. It has lines because like you can move and stuff, so like it scrunches, whatever. So there's that on the eyelid. When you're using very ultra matte, sometimes it can look very dry. In order to counteract that, I will either put a satin shadow underneath, or you can use mattes that are a little more reflective. It's sort of in a powdery way, almost like fake adds hydration. And I feel like it is, not that my matte shadows are drying, but I just feel like in my mind it's less drying, even though I don't think there's a difference. So I cannot judge texture number 2 or any of the other mattes because I only have one and it's a very light shade. So no matter what, I'm going to be mixing it with things, and so far it blends well, but for a lot of people this is going to be a transition shade. I am going to swatch this for you. I'm not a professional, so I can't even see in my thing where that is, but there it is. I can deepen it up. I'm going to film an eye look. I filmed an entire get ready with me using this. It's deleted now, so I'm just so irritated. I have to refilm it, but it's very light. It's not light on me like it's a crease shade, but on a lot of people it's going to, especially if you're on the deeper skin tone end of the spectrum, it is going to be more like a transition shade or something like that. So I can't tell you for a fact that it's better or worse than other things because every other matte shadow from brands I have at least one dark and one lighter. So I can see how they work together and I can see how well they blend out. So my point is, I cannot tell you how good the mattes are. All I can tell you is just this alone with my other crease shades, it works fine. Like with ABH Viseart, it's great. These shimmers, I was having a little bit of a problem with. When I swatch them like this, like they look beautiful. Ooh, there's a crease on my finger because I was holding the palette. They're really pretty colors. Where can I start? Oh, got lipstick on my pants. My new leggings. Oh no. I'm gonna swatch them like this. Those are the shimmer colors. I think you can see that, kind of. This is named Lavender Gray. It's like a rose gold bronze, which is confusing. And then rosewood is a rosy brown. This one confuses me because it's called Lavender Gray, and when I swatched it in Sephora months ago, I know Sephora has shitty lighting, but like it looked like a lavender gray. And in the palette, like, I understand it looks like a rosy brown, but like, I don't know, it just looked more cool than it does. I don't know if you can see, for those two. I don't know, I feel like it doesn't look the way it does in the palette. I was having issues finding a brush that works really well. Obviously with fingers, it looks really pretty. The way I've been using it is I've been taking my Hourglass number 3 all over shadow brush. This is a fluffier sort of brush thing. You know what I'm talking about. So when I go into the palette, I sort of, like, I move around a little bit and I almost do like half circles with it. And then when I'm on, let me set this down. I almost dropped it in the video that I filmed before. Let's try it here. I sort of like apply it like that. And if you compare this to this, it's just like, I don't know. This is what works the best for me, but it doesn't go on the way that I necessarily expected to. It's not as pigmented with this brush, but it was worse with flat synthetic brushes. Like this, it was really bad with. The purple is a pretty good purple. I haven't used it on the lid, but I used it on my lower lash line. And I went into asking for this knowing this is a pop of color I'm going to have to force myself to use. So my thoughts so far is that these are decent shimmers. And when I say decent, I don't mean in comparison from all the way from $1 to $239. I'm talking about drugstore range shimmers that I use. The lowest quality that I will use and enjoy is Urban Decay, and as a lot of you know, that's not low quality. So when I say decent, these are up there. These are in that shimmer realm of really good high-end stuff. But to me, when I think of what are the best shimmers, it's the Anastasia Titanium formula shimmers, such as Metal and Pink Champagne. They are just like, oh, that was stupid. I don't know if you're gonna be able to see that. They're stunning. And when I use a brush like this, I'm gonna try and clean this off. But when I go in, I don't know if I can do this on camera, but I'm gonna try and do it here. Ooh, like, there's a lot. I don't know if it's gonna show, if there's, maybe I'm just crazy, but yeah, I feel like this compared to a finger swatch, that's a little extra, but oh my god, this compared to a finger swatch is a lot more similar than these with the brush compared to finger swatches. So it's like you more so need to use your fingers with the Natasha Denona. However, I want to get the eyeshadow applicators that, like, you know, the cheap ones that come in it. Apparently those work really good in comparison to brushes, and they're like fingers. I've never done my makeup with those, and you know what's funny? I watched this YouTuber named Lorraine Stanek. She is like my makeup twin. Lorraine Stanek is like my makeup twin in the sense that whenever she likes something, I like it. And whenever she talks about something being really amazing, I try it and I'm like, this is really amazing for me too. For example, she did a video a long time ago talking about the Bite Beauty lipstick in Retsina. And I had just bought that lipstick and fell in love with it. It's my favorite lipstick ever. And I was like, oh my god, twinsies. And then, like, there's other things. But basically, me and her have the same taste in makeup, and whatever works for her tends to work for me. We have different preferences on things, but in terms of judgment of quality, we judge things the same. So I always trust her recommendations when she says she really likes something, because I know that it's going to work for me. In a video a long time ago, it was her eyeshadow declutter. In that video, she talks about she prefers the Chanel eyeshadows over everything else she has because they come with those little eyeshadow applicators. This is before anybody even brought that up as an option within the beauty community, because it was one of those things where you sort of thought about it as like, only people that don't know about makeup use those, you know what I mean? But she was talking about it, and she was like, it just works better than brushes. And now it's like, all of a sudden, all these beauty gurus are like, these eyeshadow applicators are better than brushes, you should use them. So I'm like, I should have listened to her then, but I didn't, because I was just like, oh, that's just her opinion. But I was like, no, but she's right. And here's the thing with the Anastasia. I didn't apply these over a primer, it's not good, but like, there's still so much more pigment, like I could do just so much, I don't know. I feel like this brush works really well with the titaniums, and I don't have a brush that I'm in love with for these. But that being said, these are my options. The Urban Decay one that came with my original Naked palette, and this one that I bought that's the fluffier ones. This fluffy one I feel like works best with looser, if it's a tight pack shimmer, I use something like this, but something like these where it's super pigmented and shimmery and it's softer, I'll use this for really soft shadows. So I feel like these are soft, but I don't know. In terms of firmness, they remind me of the Viseart satiny shimmers. Their shimmers aren't phenomenal in pigmentation. The Natasha Denona are like these with more pigment. Thus far in my experience. So, in conclusion to that really long story, my point is, I've used them twice, and I have thoughts on them, but that doesn't mean that those are going to be my final thoughts, because I originally thought that my final thoughts on Viseart was going to be they're not worth it. And now I've learned that Viseart is one of the best for matte eyeshadows, and I'm actually considering buying an $80 palette from them now. So as of right now, I would not be buying the $239 palettes from Natasha Denona. But if, say I use this a little more, who knows, maybe I'll be like, you know what, these are my favorite shimmers, or maybe I'll try another one with mattes and I'll be like, these are the best mattes. I don't know. So I can't tell you, but what I want to mention is that these have 0.08 ounces each. It's smaller than the Kat Von D, which is 0.1. So it has this one, this huge shadow, has 0.02 ounces more than one of these. That's not a ton, because a general eyeshadow is 0.05, which would be the size of an Urban Decay single shadow or an Anastasia one. So my point in bringing that up is that I truly believe that the price point is almost solely due to the size of the shadows, and it's nothing to do with whether or not the shadows are better than brands that are high-end but with less product. Viseart shadows are the mattes. You need so little. I don't know if I'm going to be able to go through the mattes in this, and there's a lot of product, so I understand why they're so expensive. I feel like if you find something similar in price per ounce, but with either 0.05 ounces or less per shadow, I think you're going to find they're going to be similar quality, because it's just that they're bigger. And I think they're a little bit more expensive than what I would expect for the size, because it's Natasha Denona. But when you think about it like that, it's like you're getting a ton of shadow, and it's a little more expensive because it's from a world-renowned makeup artist. There's nothing shocking about the quality to me. This packaging, from a distance or from on video, looking at it, you're like, that's not very like high-end looking, but when you feel it, this is like a thick plastic. I mean, I guess this is subjective, but to me, just like the way it, like, the hinge here, when it gets to this point, you have to like snap it. Like there's a little, I don't know if you can see what I'm talking about, but like, I don't know how to explain it, but like it's a secure closure. And it a little scares me sometimes because I don't want it to break, but like it feels like good quality. But I don't want anyone to go out buying these thinking this is going to blow your mind. The same way I wouldn't want anyone to go out buying Viseart shadows thinking this is going to blow your mind. The shimmers are going to be, if you go into them knowing they're not going to be phenomenal, I'm sure you'll like them. But if you go into it thinking these are the best shimmers you're going to get ever, you're going to be a little disappointed. The mattes, they're not out of this world different. They're just like, it's in the quality difference is in the details. If you don't care about those little details when you're blending, like if you don't get super close to the mirror and like are looking at it like, oh well, there's like a little, like if it was a picture, like a pixel off where I want it to be blended, like if you don't care that much about the blending, I don't think you're going to be like, ooh, this is so important. But to me, I'm very anal about my blending. I really want it to look like there's not any line anywhere. Today it's a little liney because I was using Anastasia Mercury, which is from the Subculture palette, which my friend gave me that eyeshadow from it. I don't have the palette. Even, not that this is like a matte eyeshadow review, but like this has glitter in it now. Let me see. So here's a little bit of mercury on my finger. If I put it on my hand and I start to blend it, I don't know if I'm going to be able to show you what I found out, but you know the Raw Beauty Christy video where she talked about this? Even when you're like just swatching it with your finger and trying to blend, I'm just going in a circle. Like I'm just like blending it out, blending it out. You know what I mean? Like it's blending out, but then as you're blending, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, but in the areas where you first put your finger, your brush or whatever, the product leaves that spot. And it was more distinct the other day when I did it because I broke it and I picked up a huge chunk of it off my table and I was just like, I can't repress this. So I swiped it on my hand and then I blended it out, and exactly where that swipe was, the product like disappeared. So today I feel like my blending isn't perfect, but when I use Viseart or Anastasia single matte shadows, I do feel like I reach perfection. If you're not looking for perfection, or you don't go that deep into, you don't use it that dark of colors, you might not even notice or care about that, so then it wouldn't be worth it. So, I don't know. I don't remember why I was going into that. But basically, my point is I can't review the Natasha Denona palette yet. And even if I could, I do believe that the price has nothing to do with it being significantly greater quality. And I think if you break it down price per ounce, they're not that much more expensive than other comparable products. But because she's selling them in such high quantities, in terms of per pan, people are like, oh my god, it better be the best thing ever. And like, I agree. I want the best of the best with my eyeshadow. And I feel like when I buy Viseart mattes and Anastasia mattes, I get that. I don't know if this is going to fit into my top favorite. Like, I don't know if I would go out and buy a bunch of these because I would rather buy a bunch of my Anastasia ones. Because I know I love those and I love the titaniums and I love her ultra mattes. And I actually enjoy her other shimmers that aren't titaniums as well. So that's my very long haul. And if you were disappointed by my opinions on this, it's not bad. Here's my advice. If you are looking at a palette, ignoring this Natasha Denona, and you're looking at a color story, selection of colors, and you're like, I would love those colors. I want eyeshadows just like that. I want those colors specifically. And you buy it. I guarantee you they're going to apply pigmented enough that you're not going to be upset. And they're going to blend well enough that you're not going to be disappointed. What I don't want you to do is go out and buy something because it says Natasha Denona and then be upset. Because if you buy them just for the name, because of the hype, you're going to be disappointed because there is no eyeshadow that is going to meet the hype that YouTube gives it. Like YouTubers who lose their minds on camera over products are creating an unrealistic expectation that no eyeshadow can meet up with, and you need to know that and remind yourself of that when you're buying anything really, but especially Natasha Denona or Viseart. It's just these two brands are just ones where people act like it will change your, like literally change your life to the point where your makeup will be completely different and like your makeup skill level will go from here to here, and it's just, that's not what's gonna happen. But if you want to try them, I would say get a 5-pan palette and try it out. If you just like the colors and you want those colors and you want, I feel like Natasha Denona is one of those brands where you're sort of guaranteed a certain level of quality. So from what I've seen, there's no duds. I think in the big palettes though, some people didn't love there's one formula that people didn't love, but I don't think there's any duds in these palettes. And I think that's something to note, is that when you're looking at middle range to low end eyeshadows, there's typically some duds where it's just like you can't even get color to show up when you swatch it. So I think about them as another high-end eyeshadow where the caliber is raised a little more, but don't set your expectations sky high because they're just eyeshadow. They're just sparkly, crushed up rock powder. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing that's gonna blow your mind. Yeah. So I hope you enjoyed my haul. And I just realized that the light's coming in and it's probably gonna glare on me now. So I hope that you can see things okay. I wanted to show you in the mirror what my makeup looks like, because when I'm filming and it's like I'm filming over there, the light washes out so much that it doesn't really show. But like I was watching it back and I was talking about how I'm using a dark eyeshadow in my crease and it looks like my crease is like really light. So I do have a dark brown, and this is what Diamond Dust, that looked weird. This is what Diamond Dust actually looks like. Now it's not going to focus on me. I think it looks really pretty. And yeah. I almost kind of want to like film over here now. And that's all. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.